Welcome back to another deep dive. We're here again, ready to sort through, stacks of information, ancient texts, all that, to pull out the real gems for you. Our mission today, basically give you a shortcut to getting your head around a really fascinating ancient story. We're plunging into the Sīvali Thera, that's the story of Arahant Sīvali, and our sources, they're direct excerpts from the Dhammapada commentary. It's this incredibly rich collection of Buddhist texts that really unpack the Buddhist teachings, the Dhamma. This story, it illustrates some profound truths about suffering, about patience, and ultimately about liberation, what Buddhists call Nibbana. And it all centers around this truly extraordinary birth and one person's pretty remarkable path to enlightenment.
Right. And what's particularly interesting, I think, about this deep dive is that we're going beyond just, retelling an old story. We're trying to extract the timeless wisdom that's kind of embedded in it. This story really shows how even immense suffering, like really prolonged suffering, can be a powerful catalyst for spiritual insight. And it highlights why understanding what liberation truly is matters, really, no matter what your background or beliefs are.
Okay, so let's unpack this a bit. Our story begins back in the Buddha's time. We meet a Kolian princess. Her name's Suppavāsā, and she was facing a situation that was, well, frankly, astonishingly difficult. And here's where it gets really interesting. Suppavāsā had apparently been pregnant for an incredible 7 years.
7 years. It's hard to even imagine.
Right. And then, after all that time, she goes into labor, and it's 7 days of just incredibly intense, sharp, bitter pain, a really difficult labor.
Yeah, unimaginable. But what's truly remarkable here isn't just the physical ordeal, which was obviously immense. It's her mental response. During this excruciating suffering, she didn't just fall into despair. Instead, she actually turned her mind to 3 really powerful reflections. She essentially transformed her pain into a kind of meditative practice.
Wow. Okay, so what were these reflections?
Well, first she contemplated the Buddha. She thought something like how truly enlightened the Blessed One is, teaching the Dhamma to end exactly this kind of suffering, the suffering of form. Then second, she thought about the Sangha, the community of disciples. She reflected how truly well-practiced the Sangha is, practicing to end this very suffering. And finally, she contemplated Nibbana itself, understanding how truly happy Nibbana must be, where suffering like this just doesn't exist.
So you have someone in, like you said, unimaginable pain, yet her focus is laser sharp on the path to liberation. That's a real aha moment about resilience, isn't it? And the power of the mind.
It really is. It's a powerful testament to, well, human resilience, like you said, and the transformative potential of the mind. Even in the thick of extreme suffering, her awareness found this anchor in these profound truths. It really shows how immense pain can become fertile ground for spiritual practice, not just something that crushes you.
So while she's enduring all this, what does she do? She takes this remarkable step of faith, right? Suppavāsā sends her husband straight to the Buddha.
Exactly. And the texts really emphasize how immediate the effect of the Buddha's words was. The moment her husband relayed her respects, her message, the teacher, the Buddha, immediately spoke a blessing. He said, "May Suppavāsā, the Kolian daughter, be happy and healthy. May she give birth to a healthy son."
And incredibly, truly, the very instant the Buddha spoke those words, she gave birth. Happily, easily, to a healthy son, no illness at all. And this healthy baby, born under these, well, miraculous circumstances, that was Sīvali.
Yeah. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this incredible birth story, it's not just a miracle tale. It vividly illustrates that deep spiritual connection and how profound mental states could, apparently, influence even physical reality back then. It really underscores the power of things like intention and blessing as actual transformative forces, even when facing immense hardship.
And the story of Sīvali, it doesn't just stop at his birth. It goes on to describe his immediate, inclination towards spiritual acts. From the very day he was born, the texts say he would take a water strainer, they call it a dhammakarka, and strain water for the Sangha, for the monastic community.
Yeah, this seemingly simple act, doing the service right from birth, it's quite telling, isn't it? It suggests this inherent disposition towards purity, towards supporting the monastic community, right from the get-go, like a deep, innate thing.
So as he grew up, Sīvali eventually made that big decision. He renounced worldly life, became a monk.
He did. And his spiritual journey, well, it culminated pretty quickly. He attained arahantship. Now, for anyone listening who might not know, arahantship is basically the highest spiritual liberation in Buddhist teachings. It's a state of complete freedom from all defilements, all suffering. But this speed and his background, it raises a really profound question, doesn't it?
Which is?
Why did someone who was clearly destined for such ultimate enlightenment, Why did he have to endure such an incredibly long and painful time in the womb? 7 years.
Right, and that's exactly the question the monks themselves started asking. One day they were all gathered in the Dhamma hall just talking about Sīvali's really extraordinary circumstances. They noted that, despite having this clear basis for arahantship, as they put it, he suffered in his mother's womb for so long, and they wondered aloud, how much more suffering must ordinary people go through?
It's a very natural human question, isn't it? Even among these spiritually advanced monks, there's this curiosity about how suffering and spiritual development actually work. So the Buddha arrived just then, saw them talking, and asked them, what are you discussing, monks?
And when they told him, the Buddha confirmed their observations. He said, "Indeed, monks, my son, having been freed from such suffering, now dwells having realized Nibbana." He's reached the goal.
Exactly. And then the teacher delivered this truly profound verse. It's called a gatha. And this verse didn't just explain Sīvali's liberation, it also offered this universal definition of what it truly means to be a Brahmin. But importantly, not a Brahmin by birth or social standing, but by spiritual attainment. A complete redefinition.
Okay, let's really dive deep into this verse because it feels like it's packed with incredible wisdom. It's like a summary of the whole path. The Buddha starts, "Whoever has gone beyond this swamp, this difficult path, this cycle of samsara and delusion."
Right. That opening line, it lays out the obstacles you have to overcome. The swamp here, it refers to the path of lust, how sensual desire can trap you. The difficult path is the stronghold of defilements, things like greed, hatred, ignorance, those deep-rooted issues. Samsara, as many know, is that endless cycle of repeated existence, birth and death. And delusion here is specifically the ignorance that prevents understanding the Four Noble Truths. So to go beyond means you've completely transcended all of that. You're out.
Okay. And the verse keeps going, describing the qualities of this liberated person. Having crossed over, having reached the other shore, meditating, free from craving, free from doubt.
Yeah, so crossed over. That means overcoming the 4 floods. The text specifies sensual desire, existence itself, wrong views, and ignorance. Big stuff. Reaching the other shore, that's a classic metaphor for attaining Nibbana. Meditating refers to cultivating these deep states of concentration, 2 kinds of jhana, absorption states. Free from craving. The Pali word is anejo, which means without the agitation, the disturbance that craving causes. Just settled. And free from doubt, or akathakati, that means having zero uncertainty, no wavering at all in your understanding of the Dhamma. Complete confidence.
And then the powerful conclusion, the bit that really lands it.
Not grasping, completely extinguished in Nibbana. Him I call a Brahmana. Exactly. Not grasping means having let go of all attachments, all forms of clinging to things, to ideas, even to the sense of I or me. And completely extinguished, that refers to the Nibbana of defilements. It's the absolute end, the cessation of all those mental impurities, total peace. This individual, the one who's fully liberated from all those bonds, that's what the Buddha says is a true Brahman.
That's such a powerful redefinition. So thinking about the time, the context, what was so revolutionary about the Buddha defining a Brahma this way, especially when social status by birth was everything?
Oh, it was absolutely revolutionary. I mean, it completely turned the prevailing social hierarchy on its head. You had a society where the Brahmic caste, they held the highest religious and social status purely by birthright. It was inherited. And here comes the Buddha saying, no, wait, true worth, true holiness, it doesn't come from your family line. It comes from your actions, your conduct, your inner purification. It fundamentally shifted the focus away from external factors like birth and towards internal transformation. It basically made liberation, enlightenment accessible to anyone who was willing to walk the path, regardless of what family or caste they were born into. Huge.
So, given how profound this teaching was, how did it land with the people who heard it directly from the Buddha, and what can we take away from it today?
Well, the sources tell us something pretty remarkable. At the end of this specific discourse, this teaching, many attain the fruits of stream entry and other noble fruits. Stream entry is the first stage of enlightenment. So this wasn't just, an interesting intellectual idea for them. It demonstrates the sheer power of the Buddha's Dhamma to inspire direct, immediate spiritual realization in the listeners. It shows these teachings are pathways to real inner change.
So we've journeyed through this, extraordinary story of Arahant Sīvali, from that incredibly challenging birth right through to his ultimate liberation, and we've unpacked the Buddha's timeless definition of what makes someone truly enlightened, a true Brahmin.
Yeah, and I think this deep dive really reminds you that suffering, even when it's prolonged and really intense, like Sīvali's time in the womb, it can serve as this powerful crucible for profound spiritual growth. It highlights that ultimate freedom, Nibbana, isn't really found in changing your external circumstances, but in transcending those inner defilements, the craving, the delusion within yourself.
Absolutely. And the Buddha's definition of a Brahmana feels like a powerful invitation for all of us, even today, to look beyond those superficial distinctions, status, background, and to recognize that true wisdom and freedom, they're cultivated through inner work, through inner transformation, not by who your parents were or where you were born.
Exactly. And maybe a final thought for you to sort of mull over. If even a being like Sīvali, someone with such immense spiritual potential, apparently still had to endure such a prolonged period of suffering, what might that imply? What does it suggest about the nature of cause and effect, karma maybe, and about the universal path to liberation? That it's a path for all beings, perhaps, no matter where they're starting from. Something to think about.
Definitely something to think about. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the Sīvali Thera. We really hope this exploration has offered you some maybe surprising facts and definitely some moments of profound insight. We'll see you next time.